Aloha, my name is Ian Kelly Castino with the Native Hawaiian Chamber, and I'm here with a new member that I'll have introduced at this time.
Aloha, Ian. My name is Makalika Nahuva'a. I'm the Executive Director of the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation.
Aloha, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time. I know you folks are really busy, but I know our members want to know about you, and so do friends of the Chamber. Tell us a little bit about you and your ohana.
Sure. Well, I'm a lawyer, and I joined NHLC in December of 2021. So it's been just a little bit over a year now for me. I relocated here in 2021 from Seattle, and that's where I had lived for, I think it was 11 years with my family. So I'm married. I have a daughter. Her name is Alika. She's 14 years old. And living here has been great because I had 17 years of not living in the same, not just state, even city as my mom and my brother and sisters. And so coming here in 2021 was a huge gift because I was able to rejoin them. So I live here in Honolulu, just about 6 minutes away from NHLC's offices on Bishop Street. And most of my family, like my mom and folks, live in Kalihi Valley.
Wow, it must be such a joy, as you said, to be home, to be around ohana, and to be doing the great work, not only that you were educated for, but that you obviously enjoy. And I know we're glad to have such a resource back here at home, serving us and the people of Hawaii. So welcome back home. Tell us a little bit about your business and the products and services that you guys provide.
Sure. So NHLC is a nonprofit. So we're a 501c3 public interest legal services organization. And we are very proud to be the only legal services organization dedicated to Native Hawaiian rights. And in that way, we're one of a very small group actually across the country of nonprofit legal service orgs that do Indigenous people's legal issues. So we're really proud to be a part of such a tight-knit community of organizations, and here in Hawaii to be the only law firm that does this. Although we actually think it'd be great if there were more, because we want the community to have more. But that said, that is us. That's what we do, and that can look like a lot of different kinds of legal matters. So one of the biggest questions that we get is people will come to us with a legal concern, and they're trying to figure out whether or not NHLC is the right organization to help. And so that really depends. The easiest way to think about it, though, is if your legal matter relates to a specifically Native Hawaiian legal issue. So let's say, for example, it's about a traditional and customary practice, which could be olelo, hula, it could be things that you need as a traditional Hawaiian farmer, your kilo practice, right? All kinds of beautiful traditional and customary Native Hawaiian practices. If your issue involves threats or things that you need legally in order to perpetuate that practice, that's a good chance that that's going to fall into our zone. Aloha Aina work, which is pretty closely tied to traditional and customary practices. It could also be things involving homesteads, right? So the homestead program, the DHHL proper lands that are managed for Native Hawaiians, that's another specifically Native Hawaiian area of law. And so we have a long history of practicing in that space. So that's sort of how you know, but people should not be afraid to call us. So we have an intake specialist who talks to everyone who calls with a question about a legal matter. She's super happy to walk you through some questions to figure out if we do that kind of work. And we go through an intake process actually pretty quickly. So no need to be shy, and it doesn't cost any money to go through that process. So anybody who's not sure could just call and ask, and we're happy to talk. But that kind of gives you a sense for it. So the kinds of things that people often will ask for that usually that we don't have a program around, general business inquiries. That there's not much that's specifically Native Hawaiian in sort of commercial business transactions. So when I think about the commerce or the Chamber of Commerce, folks who are having questions about business formation or governance legal issues, like what can my board do? What should my board do? What can they do? Trademark issues sometimes come up with business, contracting issues, right? So the chamber knows there's so many legal issues related to business, and that's not generally NHLC's space. Although even there might be a nexus. So when you think about Native Hawaiian organizations in particular, sometimes the business, which could be a nonprofit or a for-profit business, part of what the goods and services are that they bring to the market embed traditional knowledge or embed traditional and customary practices. And then there might be a nexus. And so I definitely don't mean to preclude members of the chamber from reaching out to NHLC because that nexus could be there. But sometimes the more general formation work, contracting work would fall outside of our wheelhouse.
I definitely appreciate the clarification. This is, a huge resource. We do have different kinds of members, as you are aware, as a member. It's not just the traditional, what we would consider a traditional business, but we do have 8As and others where some of the work, consultancies, private local consultancies where, if not the work that they do directly with customers, their customers that they work with, their clients that they work with may have certainly subject matter that fits within, your scope of work. So I think this is obviously a great resource and maybe something that our members and just the general community doesn't know a lot about in terms of what you folks do. So it's great that we have this time to sit and talk about it.
And we take on matters that can turn into multi-year, even longer than a decade kind of long litigation. But we also do every month a lot of brief service, Q&A kind of work. So people should really not be shy because sometimes that is actually some of the greatest value that we can bring to the community is just do a little bit of maybe proactive counseling. You might characterize it as preventative medicine, where people are just trying to understand because there are so few attorney practitioners in the area of Native Hawaiian rights, and their goal is to do the right thing, but they're not actually sure what the law requires of them. So how do they think about, if you're in development, how do you think about iwi kupuna issues? If you are in development, how do you think about impacts on traditional and customary practices? What is a good process? What does it look like when you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to be a good player in this space? And so, that's why I say like there could be a nexus in all different realms. There's some stuff that we don't do, but when you see that intersection between law and a distinctively Native Hawaiian concern, NHLC is that's really where we play.
So very good points you brought up, especially about developers and the work that we do in Hawaii and how that might be a good connection. So thank you for bringing that up. Why was it important for NHLC to be a Native Hawaiian Chamber member?
Well, I think as an organization ourselves, we're a business. We're not a for-profit, we're a nonprofit business, but we are a business. And so, we see value in all areas where we work in being in community, being in relationship with others. This organization and the community that the Chamber brings together, I think is a very special one. Being able to understand what other business leaders need and want and are doing and are thinking about best practices and how do we support each other. I think we appreciate that as an organization as much as any other kind of organization does. And I think the Chamber provides a valuable service. It's a wonderful platform for Native Hawaiians to use their voice. And that is a space that we get value out of too. So we're grateful to you guys.
Thank you for that. How would a potential client, contact you to learn more about what you can do, or if it's a right fit?
Sure. So if you're just generally interested in the work, we try to be responsive to where community wants to be, right? Actually, so feedback from the community is really helpful because those channels and those places that are viewed as relevant, I think, change a little bit. We're a 48-year-old organization. So today I would tell you, follow us on Instagram. That wasn't the way 48 years ago. But we're adapting to community, right? The community is not adapting to us. So that's a great place to follow if you're just curious what we're up to. We try to post on that regularly. We're also on LinkedIn and Facebook, so those are other spaces. I'm probably the most active on LinkedIn, but with my individual account, the organization is most active on Instagram. We maintain a website. I'm actually excited because one of the projects I'm working on right now is to publish a new version of our website. So that refresh, I think, is going to be have some fun features and allow us to serve up more content, more substantive content. Like it'll have a blog feature. We currently have a news page, so we post a lot of things on that news spot. It's almost like first party news, and sometimes that stuff will get picked up by other media, but not always. So like our website is a great one to follow too. And if you need help, you can call us. I think calling us is the most efficient because then you can get through that intake process kind of on the spot, or at least get a lot of it done, and then as quickly as possible get in front of a lawyer. So our commitment to the community is that when someone calls, they go through that intake process, and there's a couple of things that we have to check for as lawyers before we can get you in front of an attorney. So we need to make sure that there's no conflicts. People who work with lawyers are used to that. So there's a couple of things we check for. There's not like a direct line straight to an attorney, but as long as we don't have a conflict issue, or as long as the issue isn't sort of screened out of our process because it's out of scope for the work that we do, everyone who calls gets a chance to speak to an attorney. So I think calling is great, but there is a contact us form on our website that you can use as well if you'd like to start a formal inquiry for help from NHLC.
Great information. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm so happy to be able to introduce or reintroduce you as a member to our other members and to friends of the Native Hawaiian Chamber. Thank you so much for joining us today. Aloha.
Aloha, mahalo, Ian.